Professor, as a charter boat captain, you see some funny, crazy stuff
I do.
from our customers sometimes. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the biggest mistakes that these charter passengers sometimes make, and we love you, by the way, but we want you to know what are some of the biggest mistakes. This way, if you're going on a trip, you will look like a pro. All right, Professor, mistake number one. I mean, we've been doing this for a couple years now, so you've got, you've started to see a lot of different things that people do, and we love our customers, and we try to communicate with them in such a way that we prevent as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yet still sometimes people make mistakes. This is why we're making this video.
That's right.
We want you to watch it. We want you to know. We want to get in front of it. So what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see that people make when they're coming on an offshore charter?
Well, this is not by far the most important, but I do see this a lot, and that's bringing bananas on the boat.
Oh, no bananas!
No bananas.
What is the deal with no bananas?
It's an old wives' tale. It's a superstitious thing to where bananas on a boat is bad luck. And if you Google it, it goes way back in time, but bananas actually do emit a gas that repels marine life. But it's such a minute amount of it that it would never even phase the fish.
Yeah.
But it's just a superstition, and I believe in it.
So no bananas, that's the first one. What's the next one you got there, Professor?
Well, there's a few. One of them is taking the right medicine, if you need medicine. Looking at the forecast, talking the forecast over with me or the captain that you're going with, seeing what conditions are forecast to be, so that way you can be prepared. And if you're not sure whether you get motion sickness or not, I suggest that you try one day without. And it might be the worst day of your life, but then you know what I mean? Because certain medicines have certain side effects. Like, I know some of it makes you sleepy, and then you're laid out,
That's my problem,
Yeah.
is I do get seasick, so I gotta do a bunch of things. I gotta keep myself in the air.
Yeah.
And this is a mistake that people make. They'll go into the cabin or something like that. It's like air is a key to help prevent seasickness, airflow, things like that. But I found when I take the medicines, even when they say non-drowsy,
still makes you drowsy.
it makes me really sleepy, and so I end up not being fully present.
Yeah.
And so there's pros and cons to that. Now I would say if they have kids and they're bringing their kids out the first time, I'd probably just say put something in the kid if it's a kid.
Yeah.
Just because I'd rather my kid be a little bit sleepy. But if you're an adult, if you've had success on the water before, with that being said, we've had people that have spent their life on the Chesapeake Bay, but then they'll come out offshore and they will get seasick.
That's right. It's a different feeling.
It's very, very different. Now keep in mind there's other things you can get. You don't have to take the medicine, but you might want to get a wristband. You've got those ear things as well.
Seen people use those,
and some people really, so that's something that you can do if you start to feel a little bit queasy and you didn't take your medicine, because if you didn't take it in the morning, good chance it's not going to help you very much if you've waited that long, right? And
right.
To that, if you've taken the medicine too, take it the night before so that your body can get adjusted to it versus just taking it the morning of. So don't make that mistake.
That's right.
Because that's pretty important.
Yeah.
We don't want you to get seasick, and there's other things that can lead to seasickness that you've seen, especially with diet. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you just don't want to. You want to make sure you eat properly the night before or that morning. You don't want to go out to a Mexican restaurant, eat a bunch of spicy food that might upset your stomach, even if you weren't going out on a boat.
No,
you know
crazy
what I mean?
burritos.
Yeah, no. I mean, I wouldn't believe the people. Oh, we ate at the Chinese restaurant and got the Kung Pao chicken and it was spicy, and or you ate a big seafood meal the night before. Just eat something kind of bland, that will settle well with your stomach. Right. If you're on shore now, if you're a seasoned pro, you've been out a lot of times, you got an iron stomach, eat whatever, you know what I mean? But that and getting the proper amount of rest is key.
That is a bigger deal than people think.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah.
We know you're excited before you come, but you need it. Some people naturally feel more sick if they haven't gotten enough sleep.
Right.
So really try to get at least that 7 hours.
Yeah, well, what I find is it's out of most people's normal routine to get up that early, to travel to the boat, And you know, you might be prepping the night before, packing for the trip the next day, but just make time to get the proper amount of rest, because it's a long day for the person that isn't used to it. It's a long day for me and the mate that's used to it every day. It's still a long day for us. But one thing I do, I make sure I get my proper amount of rest. And that is key, because you don't want to be out here groggy, sleeping, you know, and miss out on some of the action. It's a wonderful world out in the ocean, and the more you pay attention and the more you're up looking around, the more you see.
It's so sad to me when I see somebody that's seasick laying out and there's just like this massive whale that's going by.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you can't appreciate the marine life.
That's right.
Unless you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's no different than, I never really understood the power of looking at the spread, and I'm starting to, and that's, you know, but you're obsessed with the spread and watching what's happening in the spread. You know, but me now that, you know, when I am fully awake, I'm able to sit and watch the spread and watch that tuna come up and hit it, or that billfish, or bit of feed to the billfish if it's, you know, if you see one, and like all that stuff makes a huge difference. But you gotta be paying attention.
You gotta be paying attention, and if you're not, there's a lot of instances like you won't hook that fish. You know, if like, just say for instance that white marlin comes up and he's back there on your teaser doing this, or he's back there on, you know, one of your long riggers or something, and you just barely can see the rod tip doing this, you know, and if you're not there paying attention and you can't drop it back, and there's just a lot of things, a lot of cool things that you see that if you're not paying attention, you'll never know even happens.
Right. And so listen, if you come on the boat, you're welcome to sleep. We just want you to be cognizant of you know, the pros and cons that come with that,
just because there's not a fish on at that point in given time does not mean there's not something to be seen.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. And you might spot the fish that becomes the fish of a lifetime that this guy didn't see right here.
Yep.
What about alcohol?
That's me personally. I mean, I know it affects everybody differently, but if I go out and drink the night before, I feel queasy the next day, and I don't get seasick. So, I mean, my suggestion would be not to drink the night before, or limit your drinking, you know what I mean? And a lot of people drink while they're on the boat. We don't, you know, we don't mind if they drink at all, but just, you know, be cognizant of how much you drink, and if it's rough, you know, just make sure that you don't lose your balance or something like that, because it's easy to get hurt.
Yes, and no banana milk.
No banana milk.
All right, so that's one of the, just diet, sleep, taking care of yourself, understanding about seasickness. So that's something to consider. What would you say is the next mistake that you see folks make?
Wearing the right footwear.
You know, the other day we had somebody that was wearing tennis shoes. What I don't think people realize, you hit a billfish, you got to chase it down, which means you know, now the stern, it takes on water.
That's right.
You can easily just soak your shoes. And this person, I mean, he just soaked his tennis shoes. I mean, just soaked them. Yeah. And it's not going to dry at that point. So what would you recommend in terms of footwear?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what you're comfortable in, but either flip-flops, like Crocs, flip-flops, or
Crocs
boots.
Are great.
Yeah, or boots are fine.
Boots.
But like, they need to be like rubber boots, not like your hunting boots or something with a black sole, logging boots or something like that. You don't want to wear them because they'll mark up the floor.
Yes.
You want to wear something that's non-marking, like, you know, the extra tufts that everybody wears, or the Grundens or something like that. And if you don't have those, it's fine. And if you want to wear tennis shoes, it's fine. But they're more than likely going to get wet, because even if we stop and we're bailing dolphin, there's dolphin in the floor flopping around everywhere, there's blood going everywhere, you're at least going to get bloody.
Yes.
And you can't wash it off with the hose, or, you know, it's just, you more than likely are going to get wet feet.
That's a good one. A lot of people, you know, we've seen them mistake that. In conjunction with that, just your general apparel, you might want to bring an extra, like, if you bring a long sleeve, but bring a short sleeve too. Sometimes people just have a long sleeve and they get warm. Yeah. Well, maybe you should have, I'd recommend both. Yeah. I always, generally have both.
We got plenty of storage on here, you know, for your bags, or you can pack and be prepared for whatever, you know, and just, it would never hurt to bring a rain jacket. If there's a chance of thunderstorms and showers in the area, you know, we fish no matter what, because the fish are already wet, so it doesn't matter if it's raining.
That's it,
you know?
The fish are wet.
Yep.
Now, in terms of the actual, you know, fishing itself, what are some of the mistakes that you see when people are on the rod?
Well, doing the double crank with the two hands.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
Don't do that, because why?
Well, one thing is it's not natural the way the rod is set up. And plus,
No.
with this hand, you're very likely to hit the drag lever. And we've seen it time and time again. You might have the fish of a lifetime on, and you're cranking like this, and when you make that downward stroke, you're backing off on the drag, and all of a sudden the rod's in free spool, and you've given the fish a bunch of slack, and he spit the hook.
That's a terrible situation.
Terrible.
We've seen that too many times.
Yeah.
And also, for some, like sometimes people just overthink and they like start flicking things and just like don't mess with the rod other than
turn the handle.
Turn the handle.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And another thing I see a lot of people turning the handle when the spool is not moving, which they might not understand what's going on. But at that point, we have the drag set to a certain setting, and the fish is still putting that much weight on the rod, and they're just turning the handle and not making any progress. So they're essentially expending energy for no reason.
In conjunction with that, they want to keep the line tight.
Yeah.
You just got to wait for the fish to do its thing.
That's right.
So the fish makes its run. As soon as it's made its run, you've got to be ready immediately to start to reel and reel hard.
That's right.
Especially, let's say it's a billfish, we're going to chase it down, right? If it's a big tuna, you're probably going to back it down as well. We're going to do whatever we can to get that fish in the boat as quickly as possible, especially as we deal with the sharks.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a lot to take in. My recommendation would be familiarizing yourself with the setups and the techniques before you come on the boat that day.
We've got the videos on this channel to help you with that.
That's right.
And of course, we're going to show you when you get here. That being said, it's still great just to watch, to watch how that works.
And that way, if there's any questions that you might have, you can be loaded and ready to ask them instead of having, you can put some forethought into it. Well, and this is all for, beginners,
That's right.
And we're going to explain it on the way out, just like you said. We're going to show you, but you might be embarrassed to ask your questions. Don't be embarrassed
This
at all.
guy is such a great teacher. I mean, you've always been a great teacher to me. I'm still learning, and he'll tell you things 10 times. He's told me many things 100 times because for some reason I can't remember very much, right? And so that's a great point. Now, one other issue that we have seen is angler readiness. Talk about that, Professor, because this one is so important, and I don't understand why it's a problem sometimes.
It's important to know who is next on the rod. Now, you might have it worked out. That's one thing I don't do for you when you get on the boat is figure out who's on the rod first. I will ask, do you have everybody in order? You know who's going to go. But the best thing to do is either draw cards, draw numbers, make sure that when we get a bite, whoever is up next is ready to hop in that chair. You know what I mean? Because it can happen at any minute, any second, and it can be the fish of a lifetime.
And the issue is, if they wait too long, what can be the drawback, Professor?
Well, several. I mean, like if they take too long, the shark problem that we have, the sharks just pile on it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or the line can become slack. The mate's going to do everything that he can to keep it tight, but he's got a lot to deal with back there.
He's bringing in the lines and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, what shouldn't happen? We shouldn't have a situation where the mate and the captain are saying, who's up, who's up, who's up, right?
Yeah.
And everybody in the passenger, the crew, shouldn't be saying who's up.
Yeah.
You should always know who's up. And as soon as you hear that line go out, boom, you're sitting in the chair, you're ready to go.
That's right.
And this way the mate can quickly grab that rod, put it in the holster, and you're off to the races.
That's right. Yeah. And be ready.
And be ready.
Yep.
So those are keys. Anything else that comes to mind, Professor?
Not really right offhand. Those are the key factors.
Those are the keys, and we want you to have such a good time when you come out. We don't want you to feel like that was dumb. I screwed that up.
No.
I mean, just hey, we've got so many videos on this channel. Now you can watch them. You can familiarize yourself with them. Bring your kids out with you. We'll take the time to teach them and to show them. And once you do this, it's amazing how somebody can go from really not understanding how to properly do the rod and reel and catch a whopper fish. So by the end of the day, they're looking like a pro.
That's right.
Wow,
Yeah.
you look like you've been doing this your whole life. And so we want you to come fish with us. That's slip number 92 at Pirates Cove Marina in Manio, North Carolina. You can find us at speechlesssportfishing.com. Come offshore, experience the incredible Outer Banks, so many different types of species. What an amazing fishery we have. Until next time, everyone, stay salty.